Hello and welcome to Third Eye Thinkers. I'm your host, Michelle Welch.
Hi, I'm your host, Megan Benanti. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Hi, you guys. So, how have you been?
I'm good. We're dealing with some very dreary weather here in Texas or in Dallas, and so we came up with today's subject to kind of help combat that.
Right. I need it.
Yeah.
I thought this is going to be a hard subject to talk about for me because the past couple of days I've been kind of dreary, kind of down a little bit.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll test this theory to see if it works.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about laughter. So,
right.
And what that does in our lives. And, we all have a good general sense of that, because everybody feels better when they laugh. But Michelle and I have kind of looked into it from the intuitive aspect. So.
Right. So what did you find?
Okay. So, I went researching in a lot of different areas. And the first place I thought to look, I pulled out the Power Deck by Lynn Andrews. And this came out, I think, in 91. And she has they're really cool cards, but her meanings are really good. And it's like an oracle card deck. And what she said, she had a card on humor. And one of the things she talked about in that was really interesting to me was that our lives are kind of, a lot of times we get so caught up in the ego. It's like, really, what's the reality of the situation? The reality is actually where our spirit is and how that resides. And one of the best ways to bring us back to that reality is to laugh. And, if you're living in ego, that's kind of unrealistic to do. And we do it so much of the time because that's what drives us to function on a daily basis and puts our, money in our pockets and food on the table and that kind of thing. But, this deck was such a good reminder to me to kind of bring it back down. And it's like, okay, what does my soul need? And my soul needs to laugh and it needs to find joy and experience that.
Right.
So what'd you pick up?
Well, it's interesting because I wrote as part of our title, Laughter, the Ultimate High Vibration. And the reason I like that is because, we talk a lot about the things like raising your vibration. Mm-hmm. And I thought we might just mention what I think that is just getting yourself into a place of what you just said, Megan, a place of your spirit where your spirit actually is soaring and your spirit is actually in a happier state of mind.
Yeah.
A higher vibration actually just means, if you want to bring it down to layman's terms, just a happier, more content space. Would be a higher vibration. And a lot of people will tell you how many ways to do that and not to do this and you need to do that. But one of the great ways is just purely just letting yourself go and laughing. And so I kind of, just a little bit boring thing is I kind of wanted to know, because when I get a definition, I want to know, okay, well, what does that other word mean? Because we throw it around so much,
Mm-hmm.
like vibration, so everything is energy. And energy is always in motion. We know that. That's been proven. Mm-hmm. And so everything is always moving or vibrating or oscillating. But then what is frequency? Frequency is the measure of the repeating cycles of that. So a lot of people will throw those two words together and say, a high vibrational frequency. So you'll hear that a lot. And that laughter will bring that about. So we don't need to get too hung up on it, but there is a slight difference between the two words. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to note that I'm going to quote this Sophie Scott from the University of London, the BBC. I'm going to read these a little bit later, a couple of them, but there's 10 things you might not know about laughter. But one of the things she mentioned, just as an aside, is that a healthy human vibrational frequency, to put those words together, are between 62 and 72 hertz. And of course, hertz are the way of measuring. So they can actually measure your brain waves, they can measure your laughter, and we can even tell if someone, when we're young, it's very hard to tell the difference between a laugh, a child's laugh, if it's kind of a put on laugh or it's a real laugh. So,
yeah.
But as we get older, we tend to have more of we can't tell as much of a difference in the children, is what I was going to say. Yeah,
right.
Children's
No,
hard.
you said it
and
right.
As you get older, it's easier to tell the difference. And of course, we probably do it more.
Right.
The affected laugh, the ha ha ha, or whatever it is, as opposed to the pure belly laugh of a baby or of a child.
Yeah. And of course, and that's one of the things that radiates us with babies. I mean, they're so happy, and they can put their feet in their mouth, and they just crack me up.
That happy baby pose in yoga, right?
Yeah.
And the funniest part of that, the happy baby pose, is me trying to get a hold of my feet to do the happy baby pose. That will make everybody laugh.
I have a picture of a friend of mine from Instagram where he can't touch his feet, and he's trying to reach, and it's cracking me up.
Trying to do happy baby pose.
Yeah, he can't do it.
Yeah, I've gone to yoga several times with a friend of mine, and when sometimes we'll do the thing where you're trying to do the kick out for the dancers, whatever that is, where you do the foot and back.
Bird of paradise? Oh, dancer's pose.
Dancer's pose. Well, I literally one time in yoga had to get down on my mat because they don't want you to leave the place. They don't want you to leave the yoga once you're started. You don't want to disrupt, so you want to stay in there. And I was laughing so hard. I was laying, not even a shavasana, I was laying on my stomach with my head in the mat because I was laughing so hard. And yes, it was at her, but she was laughing at herself too because she couldn't grab her foot.
Oh, how funny.
And then I got to where I couldn't even go to yoga with her because I just look at her and I'd start laughing.
That's hilarious.
Every time. Because
That's
awesome.
So
funny.
That's a great trigger, though, and we need those kinds of things. That's perfect.
Yeah, except for they get a little upset with you in there. But they should know that laughter raises your vibration, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I was kind of searching around and looking at different things, and I ran across there's one that Ellen had called Laughter is Good for Your Brain, and it's just like a 3-minute stand-up thing that she did on her show, and it's so funny. And she was the one who mentioned the baby. She's like, babies with their feet in their mouth, they can put their foot in their mouth, like, oh my God, that really is funny. Like, we can't do that.
And they do that all the time. It's
so
cute.
We wouldn't want to do that.
Exactly.
So,
then we would be laughing at someone, not with them.
Right. And that's also different too, but that's actually something that came up in all of this. So I was looking at Psychology Today, and I have to quote them because in the very beginning, one of the things they said is that laughing is one of the most contagious of all emotional experiences. And I just love that. And it's a full collaboration between the mind and body. And so there's not a lot of things that we actually combine both of those in. I mean, yes, we do in stress, but not in a positive way. And so, and then everybody, it's so contagious. We all connect with it. I mean, there's always a huge draw for movies that have humor. And even a drama, it's hard to sit through a drama if there's not some comic relief periodically to help us breathe and to connect. So in Psychology Today, they were just saying, one of the things is it helps us to like negotiate issues. It's not as often connected. I mean, yes, we laugh at jokes, but it's more about the daily life negotiating of things that we bring in laughter, and it's not just from jokes. That's more, a smaller percentage. And it's a great way to connect with people when they're in really large groups, and that's also really important.
Right.
And so that was like one of the successful things with Dakota as a speaker is that he's so funny, and he really makes people laugh in that.
Right. And one of the things that they said in Sophie Scott's article from the BBC is that actually it's what you just said. It's not usually, laughter isn't usually about jokes. And another thing is that we actually typically laugh at people that we know better, or laugh with them, with people that we know better. And that's why comedians will warm up a room. And they will try to kind of connect with people in the audience first, because actually we laugh more at jokes, and they've done tests on this. We laugh more at jokes from comedians that we know.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So that we connect with them. Yeah, I'll read a couple of the other things off on here. I thought this one was so cute and funny. Humans aren't the only people who laugh. So animals really do laugh. And rats are ticklish. So they've done studies of rats, and they will tickle them and they laugh. So when you think a little rat's laughing, or a little mouse, but that's really a rat, they laugh.
Oh my gosh.
They giggle. And so do dogs. They truly do. And so do chimps. And so they've done studies specifically on the dogs, the chimps, and the rats, and they all do really laugh.
Well, it's interesting. I have to tag along on that one because I got sidetracked as I was going through Psychology Today. And there was a research done fairly recently on foxes, and they had 3 different groups. And one of them was this girl, she's like 20, was working with domesticated foxes. And so she connected with someone else who was working with foxes that were like, they had the stable foxes and then they had the aggressive foxes. And what they were able to compare, what the girl, the 20-year-old had noticed, I believe her name was Svetlana something, and she, this is over in Russia, her foxes were laughing. They make a ha-ha sound. And so she wanted to know if these other foxes did that. And so as it turned out, they didn't. A couple of them would make like a cough sound, but only, there was 25 in each test study group, and only 2 of them in each group would make that ha, one ha. And they said it sounded more like a cough. But the tame foxes, that was a point of wanting to connect with humans, with this giggle, this ha-ha thing. And
yes.
then they adopted it completely, and they would do it with each other and everything as well.
Isn't that cute? And it's,
love that.
So it shows it's a way of bonding. Laughter is a big social bonding mechanism that we use, and apparently animals use as well.
Yeah.
With us and with each other.
It's such a great way to get out of like a stressful situation too. I had one of those kind of tough, challenging stories with a parenting story when I was a kid. The washer dryer was always kind of a source of issue because we had, we were teenagers, and there was always stuff left in the washer or the dryer, and it wasn't folded or put away and anything. So one day all the sneakers were in the dryer, and my parent figure got really angry and was like throwing the sneakers at us across the kitchen. And we're all like, ducking and that kind of thing, and nobody knew what to do. And my brother ran out and came back and got a baseball bat, like he was ready for the pitch.
Oh, that's great.
And totally busted up the parent figure. I mean, everybody just started rolling down laughing. So it was a great mood breaker. And that is so powerful because, every parent loses their marbles over stuff like that periodically. When your kid can make you laugh, it just changes the world.
That's true. And, we use the laughter it can be used in those most tense of situations. Even they've said, some of the research I showed or looked up was that even at funerals, if you can get someone, the person most, it has to be somebody very close to, let's say, the grieving one. It can't just be anybody, trying to crack a joke or something. But if you're very close to someone who's grieving and you can just get them to giggle just a little bit, or just to lighten the mood just a little. It's not inappropriate. Although we'll say this, they've noted that one of the times that people laugh the hardest is when they feel it's inappropriate. Okay, so there may be and they've studied this. There's an inappropriate situation where you try to not laugh, and I'm not saying to do this at funerals, but you're trying to not laugh. It's inappropriate. Maybe you shouldn't be laughing at that, or you feel you shouldn't have. And then all of a sudden, everyone is just laughing, and it breaks the mood. And they've said that's one of the times that people will give the most genuine laugh, is just at times when you least expect it.
Oh, that is the truth. Yeah. You took me back to just thinking of a time where you're like supposed to be quiet and reverent, and then you get the giggles, and it's like, oh, it's so uncontrollable and horrible.
It is, but it's really funny, right?
Yeah. And you have no idea why, and you're like about to wet your pants.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh.
Exactly. So. Another one that was on this list that I found, this was a pretty interesting list. We said it's not always about jokes. Your brain can tell the difference between deliberate and helpless laughter, they call it, just helpless. You're just laughing no matter what. And again, the laughter is contagious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so people, are funnier. It said that. It does not make you more fit is one thing, because I was reading where people were trying to say it makes you more fit if you laugh. And this one was interesting because she said, no, not really, because you'd have to have 3 hours of solid laughter to burn off, and this was written in the BBC, but to burn off a small packet of chips. No, it'd be, what are they called? Not chips. I changed it to chips. Over in England. Oh, they are chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, are you thinking French fries?
No,
chips.
I should have changed it to French fries. I don't know what I was thinking. That
Crisps,
was funny.
I think.
Crisp. Thank you. There you go.
Okay.
So you'd have to laugh for 3 hours continuously to burn off a small packet of crisp, is what she said. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, oh, it makes you constrict your, or contract or whatever, your muscle, your abdomen. I'm thinking you have to laugh a long time for that to really.
Oh, yeah.
But it does tie in with breathing. So did you read some about that?
No, I didn't.
It ties in with breathing. And so when a lot of people say breathe to relax, that's something that laughter helps you do. Sometimes you kind of hold your breath, but then you're really getting up into your diaphragm when you truly, truly laugh. Just like a good breath. Relationships last longer when you laugh. Duh, I would think so.
Oh, yeah, because they're hard enough anyway.
Yeah, I think you have to laugh at some of them. Like you're in a really big fight. If somebody can just like make the other one laugh, that usually will break that. It requires precise timing, which comedians figure out, or inappropriate timing sometimes is the best, is what they emphasized. And they said laughter has actually been found to be attractive. And the way they put it, the thing I said about, laughing kind of when you're not supposed to, is that's typically a guaranteed laugh. And I thought back, this will show my age, but I used to love Carol Burnett. And I watched it with my dad.
Oh, I loved her too.
And Tim Conway and Harvey Keitel would be on there with her. And if you've never watched it, you guys, if you're younger, just Google it, or look it up on YouTube, because it is so funny.
It's such a hoot.
And when they would break, and you're an actress, Megan. A lot of you guys don't know. She is. It never leaves you.
It was a really long time ago.
But she grew up her whole childhood laughing and acting. And so when you break character, and then everybody just starts laughing, that's what they would do. They would just, and sometimes I almost thought they were doing it. I got to the point where I thought, are they doing it just because they know everybody gets so tickled by this? Because they get laughing at each other and they break character, but they never edited that out. They weren't bloopers. Awesome. They would show it, and then you'd just be rolling around just laughing so hard because they were laughing at each other and how they messed up.
Oh, yeah. Well, like at the end of a Jackie Chan movie, they'll do that too.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it's so funny to watch Jackie laugh at himself. Like he busts himself up all the time.
Yeah. That's a little more timely than my Carol Burnett. Because you're younger.
Not that much. So.
But yeah, it's really funny. So I think that they said one way to tell if somebody's laughter is real or not is it's in the breath. And I kept researching because that was like their title of this one article. But they never answered the question of, okay, well, what in the breath do you look for, to tell the difference? But I guess, you hold it, then you release it, I think is a big way. But it's kind of funny. It was funny even to me. I started finding myself giggling about some of the articles because I was going, okay, you're not answering my question. That usually will irritate me, but I'm going to laugh about it this time because they'd have a headline.
Right.
And they don't ever answer what they say they're going to talk about.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if I get to laughing real hard, sometimes I can't even breathe,
Yeah, so you hold it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. One of the big things they used to study it is the When Harry Met Sally episode.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
In the diner.
Yeah, we all love that one.
So that is actually what people who do studies on laughter will use that movie to measure your brain waves and all that kind of stuff and how much you're laughing.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I'll never forget that scene. It was that was one of those scenes that sort of changes your life and you just never forget it. So
yeah, that was funny.
And
everybody, in spite of even if people were very uptight, they would still be laughing at that. They couldn't help themselves. Right?
Yeah. Oh, so true. Yeah. Totally true.
What else did you find?
Well, just that, it boosts your immune system. It relaxes your muscles. It aids in circulation. It said it protects against heart disease, which, okay.
Probably lowers your stress, maybe.
Yeah. Mental health, it said it lowers anxiety, releases tension, improves your mood, and fosters resilience, which I like that too, because then you've got that ability to kind of continue to hang in there. And then it's always going to enrich your social experiences because, you think about it like when you laugh with someone, there's automatically a connection. The guard comes down, which is so nice. And that really is going to enrich our social experiences. So that's such a key thing there.
I was going to tell just a brief, this past weekend, I was worn out from all the activities we had. And so the past couple of days, I've just been a little, people are like, oh, you need to rest. And I'm like, no, not this kind of rest. It's just like I was having trouble even getting out of bed, which I tend to a little bit of depression, and I have to watch out for that. And so one of the ways is, I've got to get up. I've got to get out of bed. And that's very hard sometimes when you're leaning towards a depressive episode. That's, you know, and people who've really had depression, they understand that. But Roger will always try to get me to laugh. But I was watching something on YouTube once my internet started working again, because one of those days the internet didn't work at all because of the lightning strike.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, and so so I turned on this episode of Big Brother in the UK, which I actually watch, you guys. And people will be like, how do you find time to do that? And I'm like, I enjoy it. That's why I find time. I find time to do what I enjoy. And so I turned it on. And just because you're familiar with those people and you've watched them, all of a sudden you start laughing. And this guy was trying to do a demonstration of putting the life jacket over your head on an airplane. You know how they show that? And he was a larger guy, and he owns it. And quite effeminate acting, which he owns, and he's hilarious. And so he's trying to put this over his head, and then he's bringing the nozzle up, you know, where you're supposed to blow it up. And it was, it's not going to be funny unless you watch it. But it was one of those things where I was laughing uncontrollably, and Roger entered the room, and he was like, "You're doing better. You're doing better, aren't you doing better?" And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm laughing. And so it was just true proof to me. One of the times when I was really depressed, I'll just share with you guys. I'm not afraid to share it because I think it's important for people to know. I checked myself in the hospital when I was 30 for depression. And I'm not ashamed of that, because I don't think there should be stigma with mental health issues. And I couldn't think of anything. Nothing made me laugh. Everything made me cry. My kids were maybe going to be taken from me because, you know, John and I were not getting along, my first husband and I. And, you know, it was this big battle. We're both attorneys. And I just couldn't find anything to get me out of those racing tapes in my mind. And finally, I watched that movie, The Mask, by Jim Carrey. And it was on a video. They had these old videos there. And I stuck that movie. And it made me laugh so hard. And literally till I was crying, happy tears and funny tears, because it didn't cue anything else that made me sad. Yeah. And it just genuinely, that laughter truly did raise my vibration. I mean, it kind of saved me.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. And that's such a great movie. That, to me, was kind of a breakout with Jim Carrey and Cameron Diaz. And I just, I thought she was adorable in that. It was such a great movie.
Yeah. And Jim Carrey has so many very amazing quotes and things to say about, you know, raising your vibration. So he knows about that. He's been through a lot of hard times and turned his life around, probably with a lot of laughter.
Yeah, and most comedians do struggle with that dark and light side, you know, and trying to keep their vibration up and to deal with the pain in their life. So,
well, speaking of high vibrations, what plant did you bring today for us?
Okay, and just to, Michelle and I have an inside joke about my plant today. We have the sunflower. So, and sunflowers, I was so amused that this was the flower for happiness, because I'm not really a sunflower person. I'm a Leo, and that's like the flower that coordinates with Leo because it is the sun. Even the Latin term is helianthus, and helio is the Greek god of the sun. Right. And then anthus, I guess, is flower in Latin. So, you know, so hence the sunflower. And I was just so amused that, like, literally our initial flyer had sunflowers on it. And I asked our assistant on that. I was like, oh, I'm not really a sunflower person. Can we, like, trade that out?
And once she had this flower, I was like, man, we should have used the sunflower background. It was perfect.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, oh, there I go. Of course, you know, it just came back to haunt me that I was going to have to deal with this flower. So, and I'm not a huge sunflower person, partially because when you grow them in the garden, they get really tall and then they sort of flop over. But sunflowers are really cool because, like, when they're a bud, they actually follow the sun across the sky, and that is called heliotropism. And once they bloom, they stop doing that. But what a cool thing to actually follow the sun, and they need that much sunlight to photosynthesize to create a flower that big. So, you know, from a magical standpoint, like, well, first, the history of the sunflower, the Aztecs and the Incas, that represented their sun god. And so they would, like, carve suns into metal and that kind of thing. So we have old history. And it's one of our Native American plants, which is really nice. And it's spread abroad, but it is known universally as a to be representative of the sun and to represent happiness and joy. And I just thought that was really cool overall. So, it was just saying from a magical standpoint that it helps to activate our feelings of happiness, expansion, energy, vitality, and joy. And that kind of really dipped into some other areas of like personal potency. And so like if you want to develop potency, whether that's having a baby or to be more potent in work and creative ideas, the sunflower is one that can help you do that. So, you can cut them and have them in your home. You can grow them. Of course, we also have them for sustenance as sunflower seeds. And that provides protein and nourishment and stamina and apparently also inspiration. So, and then it's also just the idea that it brings a lot of radiance to you. So, when we think about popularity and fame, it's actually the sunflower is the one for that because it's a real positive type of radiance. It's not going to be infamous or negative ego issues. It's a really positive thing. So a lot of good to having the sunflower around. So.
All right. I love that.
What was your crystal?
I'm glad that you opened up to the sunflower.
Oh, yeah,
I decided to embrace your
my inner sunflower.
Sign.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I guess it would be my flower since I'm a Leo. So.
Yeah. Well, I think you can choose your own, but maybe.
I think I already have.
Yeah. You've chosen a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I brought today, and I didn't actually bring, but the Crazy Lace Agate. And as I've said before, agates get their names from where they're from, typically, or how they look. Mm-hmm. So the Crazy Lace Agate, there's two stories of how it got its name, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. One was from a river in Sicily, and one was from somebody just who named it, and they named it the Crazy Lace Agate. So we won't spend a lot of time on how, but it is known specifically as the laughter stone. So this was a no-brainer for me of which crystal or stone to pick. Agates typically are very, very protective. It's one of the oldest known protective stones. Agates have been used for, literally since like Babylonian times. They're very well known and go way back. The Crazy Lace Agate, though, is really specific to an area in Mexico. So it's also known as the Mexican agate. And I love them. They're fun. They're pretty. The thing with all agates is their vibration that we talked about earlier is a little gentler. Kind of like a rose quartz is a little gentler in their action. The Crazy Lace Agate is a little gentler. It might act a little more slowly, but it acts nonetheless. It has a lot of potency, as you said before, but it may be over time that you connect with that with the Crazy Lace. You don't hold it immediately and go, oh wow, this is buzzing in my hand. A lot of the agates you don't. The Crazy Lace Agate is it's interesting that you mentioned the sun so much. This kind of surprised me that it's the stone of the moon goddesses. So most of the moon goddesses, this stone resonates with the moon goddesses, which is interesting to me. And I found that in very many of I look at Cassandra Eason, I look at Robert Simmons' books, I look at Crystal Vaults, I have a lot of references. And so I've studied them enough now that typically the same stuff comes up over and over. But that came up a lot, so it kind of surprised me. And I believe that was Cassandra Eason. It's also good for those that suffer from PTSD. And I have some friends that who struggle with that. And so I get asked that question quite a bit in the store, a stone that's good for that. So that one is. And I found that it is good, and I spoke with Matt about this earlier, since he's gone to haunted places, Matt, our producer. It's good for those visiting haunted places or places that have some sort of lore or mystery to them, that maybe they have a more kind of what you might think of as a negative vibration or something like that, if we want to just label it as that. And it helps you have courage in those areas, and also to remember why you're there and not let any of that negativity kind of wear off on you and affect those and the team members that you're working with.
Oh,
Isn't
nice.
that interesting?
Yeah.
Yes, I came across that, and I told Matt immediately from his experience just looking for Bigfoot and going to different types of haunted
I
places.
wish I had known.
Yeah, I know. It was so interesting that I read it, and I told you, Matt, before the show started, that it was like immediately, I was like, this is Matt Stone. This is for the next time you go somewhere.
Yeah.
I need to pick some up.
Yeah. It's perfect. And Crazy Lakes Agate is not expensive. It's very affordable.
Well, that's awesome. And it's beautiful, and really the colors of it are very moon-like to me.
Yeah, so and Megan, you're just good at describing the way things look. You see the swirls in that, and all the swirlies and the and the colors. Yeah, how would you describe it for somebody not?
So if you're not watching, it's there's whites and yellows and a little bit of rust colors in there too, but it very much feels like the surface of the moon to me. And the whiteness of some of them remind me very much of the High Priestess card. And who is the goddess of the moon. And so, and it's interesting that you had moon and I had sun, because really we need to laugh 24 hours a day.
Right, you know, balance
we need,
too.
we need the balance. So,
all right. Do we have time for readings, Matt?
We've got a couple minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
We got started a little late.
Let's focus on our charms as being about laughter. I'm going to pull 2 charms, and why don't you shuffle the deck there, Michelle?
So this is Megan's Illuminati deck by Eric Dunn, and the artist is Amy.
You got me on that one.
Drawing a blank. Forgive me, but Eric Dunn is the one of them. They collaborate, so I know there's 2. But I love this deck.
Okay. Well, we have a crest with a fleur-de-lis, and then these were tangled together, so I'll put them together. We have some vampire teeth with a giant eye. So let's see what we've got with these. So if you're either, as a listener, going to pick the crest with the fleur-de-lis on it, or you'll pick the vampire teeth with the eyeball, or the third eye on there. Okay, so we have, for the crest, we have King of Wands, and we have the Death card.
Okay.
Oh, and to me, this is like, okay, don't take yourself so seriously. And that crest, that's your protectiveness. You know, that you've been guarding yourself and you're working really hard and you're trying to present yourself as strong and capable and, you know, really doing the job well. And to me, that Death card is saying, okay, let go. Enjoy this a little bit, because it's not going to be easy. So do step back and laugh at yourself a little bit. Have some fun with this. I mean, nothing is, you know, really in life, we think nothing is more challenging than death. So this is an opportunity to kind of like laugh death in the face.
Look it in the face and just laugh. Yeah. I love that. Just
go for it. What did you get on it?
I like what you got. I was drawn to the shield. It does have the little, if it's fleur-de-lis, I think, on it, or whatever symbol it is. But I think, what is if you drew this one, ask yourself, excuse me, what is your way of shielding yourself without barricading yourself, without keeping yourself away from everyone else? How do you shield yourself from things that maybe do get you down? And how do you pull yourself out of it? Kind of like I was talking about earlier. What things can you do without totally walling yourself off from everyone else and isolating, which can feel very much, and I'm going to go literal here, just very much like a death of sorts, when you're away from everyone else and you're walling yourself off. So I'm asking you, if you drew this one, to think about it this week. What is the difference for you between shielding yourself and protecting yourself versus going all the way into barricading yourself and isolating yourself from those who love you?
Yeah, well said. All right, so then with the vampire teeth and the eye, and we are coming up on Halloween, so, you know, and if we think about teeth and eyes, the first thing I'm thinking of as well, biting. And do you feel like you've had your head bit off recently and maybe you need to look at things differently? And then we're looking at Four of Pentacles and then Princess of Pentacles in reverse. Do you have a thought?
Well, you kind of cued me onto something, talking about the bite. It's really, again, I'm drawing a lot on this energy. So when you said the vampire teeth and then the eye, and if you think of the eye of protection, for me today, I'm getting protection. Okay. And how we bring it, you know, again, the Four of Pentacles to me can be certain things with earthly things and guarding your finances and your things closely, but it also, he's also covering his heart up. He's crossing that one pentacle right at his heart chakra. And so maybe don't be so afraid of people that are going to drain your energy, the energy vampires that people will talk about, that you're closing yourself off. You know, be grounded and be secure, but also, and be protected, but also know that, you know, you can open yourself up and not, I just keep getting that isolation. I'm sorry, maybe that's for me, but I just keep getting it over and over, that you can be protected and still not be isolated. What do you get with this one being reversed?
You know, that's interesting you said that. I'm struggling with that one too. I'm looking at the Four of Pentacles, and he's on the Great Wall of China, and so that's bringing in this idea too of like really looking at the long term and maybe being a little fearful, and like the idea of gritting your teeth to get through this situation, whatever's going on right now for you. And then I don't know why this just came up to me, but Princess of Pentacles was just coming up as the sense of feeling older but not really okay with it. And maybe that's that Venus retrograde energy we're dealing with right now. And you know, so there is a sense of losing our youth, and what are we paying attention to? What is our that eye, going back to that eye, what is that focus on? And so there is a sense maybe time is slipping by, and also I'm picking up that there might be a little bit of struggle for people if they're trying to either acclimate to a new position or having some kind of startup growth. If you're a business owner, you know what the end result is right now, but the I do feel like there's kind of a block in energy for kind of growth in the moment, and it might be feeling like you're having to hold on to that until, you know, maybe December, January time period. So be cautious, but try not to be angry about it, and find, again, if we're talking about laughter, find the joke in there. You know, find something that's fun for you.
I agree. That was really good what you said at the end, and about the anger, and I got just loosen up a little bit. You know, I got almost like you were doing this motion, almost like a jar. You know, like tightening or loosening in a jar, and it made me think, just loosen it up a little bit. You know, just loosen up, let go just a little. And that would involve laughter and just having some fun while you're being maybe patient with the this time period, whatever's going on.
Yeah. And if you're stuck at home and you've got Alexa, ask Alexa to tell you a joke. It's really bad, but you will laugh. My husband and I will lay in bed together and just like, Alexa, tell us a joke. I mean, they're terrible, but they're a hoot. They really are.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, well, we want to thank you guys for listening in today. Please remember to give us if you enjoyed what you hear, give us a 5-star review on your podcast channel, or like us on YouTube. We really appreciate you tuning in, and keep Third Eye thinking.